How do you know if a guy is actually husband material? And how do you know if he's going to stay with you for the long term? And how do you make sure that you're committing to a guy where you can have a long-term relationship? How do you know these things? It's incredibly hard, I'm going to say that, in 2025, to be dating in general with my generation, especially younger people in their 20s, 30s. The dating market right now is probably worse than it's ever been. Think about how easy it was in the 80s, in the 70s, in the 50s. People would just find one person in their hometown. There was no social media, so the sexual marketplace wasn't globalized. It was the girl you found attractive or the guy you found attractive or the football star in your hometown. And that's all you could date. There was no social media. Social media has been incredibly destructive to so many relationships, and it's been even harder to know if a guy is husband material or not. So let me just get this out of the way. If you're younger, in college, you're in your 20s, there's going to be two archetypes of guys. There's going to be the fun guy, and there's going to be the boring guy. Now, I use these two extremes because I like to exaggerate my points. So the fun guy, if you're in a sorority or if you tend to go out quite a bit, you're going to run into the fun guy a lot. But what does he have going for him in the future? Very rarely will you meet a guy who is all about the life of the party and can also be incredibly disciplined and build something for the future. And I'm talking about the frat star, the guy who's popular at the bars, the clubs, whatever it is. The guy who can go out 3-4 nights a week and he's just easygoing. He's nice to be around. Yeah, that's attractive. It's easygoing. It's stress-free. I totally get it. But you need to look at guys like an investment. This sounds crazy, but you almost need to look at guys like a stock. And the fun guy, he might be easier to talk to. He might be more social. And for the short term, for the interim, he's going to be great. And if he likes you, it's going to be even better for 5 to 6 months because he's going to shower you with love. And you guys are going to be going out, having a fun time all of the time. He's the fun guy. He's the party guy. He's the frat star. But you have to ask yourself, and you have to think about the long term. Is this guy husband material? Is he building something aside from going out and partying and being the president of his frat 5 nights a week? And if the answer is no, and you have to be honest with yourself, I recommend going for the guy who's a little bit more boring. Now, I know boring sounds like a red flag in a guy because, yeah, a guy who has a very monotonous, disciplined, strict routine, sometimes that's hard to get used to. I totally get it. When I first started dating my girlfriend, I was kind of entering that phase as a man because I realized, I was in my frat for 2 years. I need to build for my future. And now I'm going to become a successful attorney. But that's aside the point. My girlfriend met me in those early stages of me finally going into that disciplined mode. And thankfully, I was able to find this at a very young age, at the age of 19 years old, actually. Most guys, they'll go through their party phase in college till they're 22 years old. And not only that, then they'll be going out to their local bars from 22 to 27. And finally, at around 28, 29, 30, they're like, oh, crap, I've been partying the last decade. I should probably seriously build something now. Because in this current economy, $100K a year is just not going to cut it. It will in certain states, but to have a family of 3 kids, $100K, that will not cut it in our current economy with taxes and interest rates and saving up for a down payment on a house. You want to make sure that you're finding a man who can build something and you know deep down in your soul that he is going to be successful. Now, what does that look like? You got the fun guy, whatever. I'm sure many of you have experienced the fun guy. The disciplined, boring guy, even though he's not really boring. The boring guy, it looks like this. He gets up in the morning, probably works out, goes to the gym 6 days a week, at least. He gets his disciplined workouts in because that is truthfully for men the beginning of success. Then he goes to work at his job and he works hard. He doesn't just pull up to his career job. He goes to his job, for example, financial analyst, and he's working toward that promotion. He's not just going with the motions. Or works out. Just make sure you find a guy who takes care of his body, works out, and then he's building his business all day long. Whatever it is, You need to make sure you're finding a guy who's building something. And boring guy is code word for a guy who's building something when he's young, because he's not going to have as much time to go out, again, 3-4 nights a week. Yes, there are guys who can do this. And if you found that guy, you're very lucky. But it's so rare. I only knew about one person in the entire frat of 200 people that I was associated with when I was in college that could actually go out 3 or 4 nights a week and also be that disciplined guy. Those hangovers, the drinking, it doesn't work. Look at it like a stock. Trust me when I say this, date the more boring guy who has a very disciplined, strict routine. And the best part about this is if he's already strict and disciplined in his routine, you're going to be hanging out with a go-getter, and then the energy is going to bleed off into your own life. And then all of a sudden you're going to be going with him to his workouts, and all of a sudden you're going to be making more money, and it just becomes this beautiful mesh. And I get it. It's hard because maybe you might be used to the frat guys who are easy to talk to, and the boring guys, the more disciplined guys, they're not as social or outgoing at the moment in their early 20s. But I'm telling you right now, if you want a family and kids someday, you need to prioritize finding a guy who is a go-getter and a winner in life. That is so incredibly important. And I'm just trying to save and help you all out right now. And sometimes the harsh truth, like what I'm talking about right now, is ultimately what a lot of you need to hear. Because you're going to be so happy that, oh, I dated the guy who went to med school and he was super motivated, and now he's an orthopedic surgeon. He's making $500,000 a year, and I can work part-time, or when I'm pregnant, I don't have to worry about paying the bills. Like, think about that. That is beautiful. In your 30s, you're going to be so thankful that you chose to marry this kind of guy versus the frat guy or just the fun guy in college in your early 20s. You ask him, hey, what do you want to do when you're done with college? Or what do you want to do 5 years from now? And he just says, I don't know, just travel, whatever. And then you're 30, you get married to him, and you're just cooked. Like, you're literally just cooked. You don't have any income. You want to have kids. You start to catch baby fever, and you can't because you can't afford it. So I seriously stress this so much. Find the boring guy, because the boring guy is husband material. And it's going to be difficult. It's going to be hard to find. Where can you find the good, disciplined guy who may come off as boring when you're younger in your 20s? The gym. Perfect example. Start going to the gym every day. You'll find him there. The boring guy is going to be at the gym every single day because he's going to take care of his body. Now, where else can you find him? If you're religious of any sort, church, for example, you see him every Sunday at church. Perfect time to meet your future husband. Say you can't do either of those. Okay? Join a hiking club. Join a Pilates club, a yoga club, a CrossFit club. Perfect example. Say you can't do any of that. The workplace. Perfect. One of my good buddies worked at a massive corporation as an analyst, and he met his future wife there. She was on the 6th floor. He was working on the 7th floor. If you can't even do that, go to a coffee shop in the morning before work in a bustling city with a bunch of corporations around it. You need to make sure that you go to places where people are working hard and are not doing the most fun activities. Another example would be classroom. High-level classroom. Say you're a finance major or business, real estate major. Start talking to a guy in an upper division finance class at your college who obviously sits there and works hard, and he's attractive. These are all perfect places that you're going to find husband material. It's going to be very rare to find one at a bar or a club. I'm just going to be straight with all of you. Because most of the time, 70% of the people that go to the bars and the clubs are common goers. So you're not going to find the more disciplined, boring, monotonous routine guy there, because he's not going to have time to go out to the bars or clubs every weekend. Once in a blue moon, maybe once a month, yeah, they will go out. Once a month, though, and the odds of you going out the same night, being in the same bar as that guy is incredibly, incredibly rare. So you need to make sure that you look in places where people work hard. That's step number 1. Number 2 is make sure that he takes that effort and puts a lot of that effort and attention toward you. So not only you need to analyze the guy and what he does in his own life, but you also need to analyze, okay, is he putting effort? Is he spending some money on me in the talking phase? Is he asking me out on formal dates? If he checks both of those boxes, he puts in the effort into you in the talking phase, into dating you, and then he also You see it in his own disciplined life that he's building something. He's actually building something for the future, for the both of you, possibly for you, if you ever want to have kids someday or whatever it is. You can genuinely see it. You can observe it in his daily monotonous routine. Then yes, 100% this guy is husband material. And it's actually not as hard as you think. It's just the places where the fun guy is, it's a lot easier to approach those places, to go to those places, and to talk to those guys. I understand it's a lot more intimidating to talk to the general manager at your financial analyst firm who makes $250K a year, who's very good looking. I totally get that. I think the boring guys, and I'm speaking for myself because I've been both the fun guy I used to be, and now I'm more so the boring discipline guy. I think the boring discipline guys are definitely harder to approach because they're less relatable. They're harder to talk to in ways because they are so focused on building something. But if you can spark up a conversation with these types of guys and you can end up going on dates with them and then ultimately getting into a relationship with one of them, trust me, by the time you're 30 years old, 38 years old, 40 years old, you're going to be very happy.